There are certain characteristics of English music which Vaughan Williams particularly encapsulates. It's often referred to as pastoral or idyllic kind of countryside music. And some people can be slightly rude about Vaughan Williams' style, but for me it is a very, very particular expression of the English countryside and the English nature and the rural atmosphere, which of course is now disappearing in many places. But certainly in the time Vaughan Williams was a young man, in the late 19th century and into the early 20th century, this was very much part of his world. And in fact, I live very close to where Vaughan Williams was born, so I feel this a very close connection with this style of music, which is very, very touching, very honest, I think, and very humane, his music. And it can be very touching. I think for a Japanese audience, Vaughan Williams will immediately speak to them, especially in the Norfolk Rhapsody. Delius and Walton were two composers who had a very international view of life. Delius lived for many years in France with his Norwegian wife, and Walton lived in Italy, in Ischia, on an island just off the coast of Naples, with his Argentinian wife. So, as is very often the case, musicians of all nationalities like to get abroad to study and to soak up different international atmosphere. So in some senses, both those composers are not typically English. There are certain pieces of Delius that do have a very pastoral feel, a little bit like the Vaughan Williams, and you certainly get a sense of that in the second movement, the slow movement of the concerto. With Walton, I think, particularly in this first symphony, he was trying to establish himself as a very international composer and succeeded very much. The symphony was extremely successful and is influenced very much by Sibelius, the Sibelius symphonies, particularly in the first movement. And the one thing that's so striking about Walton's music is the brilliance of the orchestral writing. He was a very successful film composer, and you sense in all his serious works, if we can call them that his mastery of the orchestra is absolutely complete. And I think this symphony, the first symphony of Walton, is one of the great 20th century symphonies.